The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers to get yourself sweet, sweet perks such as uncut early access to the episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/theformedgamers and consider lending support and joining the herd. Without further ado, let's hop into the show.
Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 169 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, and finally, the Theologian is back on The Reformed Gamers. What's up, guys? I've missed your faces, I've missed your ears, and I'm glad to be back here. Joining me for this episode is our boy, the Bearded Wonder from the Facebook group. You know him as Zach Buchel. Dear listeners, probably remember Zach being on the show on episode 55 back in March 28th of 2016. That was a while ago. When we
4 years,
It's been a while, man. It's been a little too long. But we talked about PCMR back then. And so here we are basically giving a fresh update, so to speak, because we're going to be talking about PC building here on this episode. You guys probably have followed me on Twitter. You guys have seen the posts. You guys have seen the things in the Facebook group. Your boy built a PC finally after, 4 years of trying to get it to happen. I'm actually on that PC right now recording with Zach. So
4 years of deep peer pressure from myself and Luke Urbach.
Yep. And other people like Mark Fromey, Luke Strain, all this other stuff. But I brought some music for you guys. I want you guys to listen to the music of my people. I don't even know if they can hear it, but look at those clicky clacks. Sounds so good. It sounds so good. Anyway, guys, if you guys are curious about my PC build and all that stuff, link to the build list will be in your show notes so you can look at all that stuff. But in case you're very impatient, I'll just tell you some of the stuff that's in there right now. There's an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 in there on a, MSI B450 Tomahawk motherboard and a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060 Super graphics card. I know there's a lot of people that are listening to this that aren't into PCs and are like, what the heck is he speaking in tongues right now? Is Logan speaking in tongues? But no, we'll explain all that later. We'll go over all that later. Part of the reason why we're getting into that topic is because I've noticed that, the main reason is because I want to talk about my PC. But the second main reason is because I've noticed this topic has come up a lot in the last couple of months in both the Facebook group, the Discord server, and here and there on Twitter. And so hopefully I'll be able to share kind of what my experience was like building my first PC, dispelling some PC myths, and sharing some tips and tricks with you here on this episode. Now, I'm not going to be sharing any tips and tricks because I'm still like a novice at this. So I'm going to let Zach handle all that stuff later on. But I just want to say thank you guys. So a few things. I got to go over some housekeeping here like we normally do on the show. First and foremost, thank you guys for allowing me to take some time off from the podcast to focus on streaming. Hopefully you guys follow me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheTheoLogan. Link will be in your show notes. Allowing me to do that, allowing me to focus on ministry and kind of get adjusted to really just this whole some new ways of normal and some other ways that are just kind of temporary. But appreciate you guys continuing the support. Appreciate Adam and Skinner knocking out episodes like champs. They did a great job in my absence. But I do want to make a couple notes because you guys probably already noticed Adam isn't here tonight. He has some friends over and they're so rude. They're like, no, we won't let you go join your friends to record a podcast on the internet. We're going to stay right here because we're more important. I'm kidding. It's nothing like that. But they do have friends over and he couldn't make the recording. And then I want you to also ask you guys, if you guys are in the Discord server, you probably already know Skinner's taking some time off from the show. He won't be editing the episodes, which leaves me to edit the episodes. So if this episode sounds bad, it's my fault. Blame me. But he's taking some time. He's in the middle of a life transition into a new house. taking care of his family and stuff. And so we're like, bro, family comes first. You handle that. I've got the rest. And so that's kind of those are kind of the big updates really with the show. I gotta say it was weird. I leave the show for a month and it seems like the world descends into chaos.
I was going
I
to
don't
mention that.
I was gonna say I don't think there's any relation to the coronavirus and really just a lot of the I don't even know what to call it. Like I guess unrest that's going on in the world that started in Minneapolis with the protests, which have then for some reason riots have started coming in and just all this stuff. And I mean, social media right now is a bit of a whirlwind of topics dealing with race, police brutality, all this other stuff. It's pretty crazy. And some of our dear listeners, I do want to take a moment to mention that some of our dear listeners are in the Minneapolis area and a few other areas that were experiencing riots. And we've been praying for them. We've been praying for you guys. But I don't really know much else to say there than what I've already said online. I mean, it's pretty obvious that racism is stupid. If you seriously believe in that in 2020, I mean, repent, stop it, knock it off. And we've covered that a lot on this show. I think just anytime we bring up the Imago Dei, Adam's brought up some of that stuff before too. It's wild. But dear listeners, just know that we are praying for you where you're at. It's been something that we've been praying for a lot, especially on Twitch. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, just know that we're praying for you guys. And we are, our hearts go out to you, man. It's wild, dude. We don't really need to spend a whole lot of time on this. It's just wild to think that in 2020, this is still a thing,
Yeah. I was going to say real quick, I appreciated the video. I think it was uploaded to the Reform Gamers YouTube channel, right? About the Imago Dei.
About the Imago Dei. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I appreciated that little piece of content.
Yeah.
So, dear listeners, go check that out. That was not a paid plug to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, but hashtag subscribe to the Reform Gamers YouTube channel. Click that little bell notification.
Yeah. Adam,
but yeah, it was
not Adam. You're Zach. Zach, what's your Steam name so I can send this game over to you that we totally aren't.
Yeah. Just send me those gift cards that we talked about and.
Gotcha. I gotcha, bro.
But yeah, it's it's what more can be said that already hasn't been said by tens of thousands of people already on social media, especially. Racism, you suck, go away. Satan, stop. And in all seriousness, though, yeah, it's been weird. I'm in St. Louis, so we have protests going on here as well. People have died from the looting and protesting. It's just I was thinking about it the other day and disorienting. That was the word I used to describe it with my family back home in rural Wisconsin, who, I hadn't even seen my first black person until I was 14. So like, like going from that into living in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis area, St. Paul, and then moving down to St. Louis for ministering for seminary, it was quite the culture shock. And so all of that, experiencing all of that, later in life and then moving down here and having all that happen, especially happening right now, is just it's just disorienting, right? Like you said, in 2020, who would have thought we would be having these kind of conversations still? So
yeah, for sure. But like we said, dear listeners, we've been praying for you guys. If you guys have a specific prayer request, as always, hit us up in the Discord server or Facebook group or any one of those two. But as Zach aptly pointed out, this is all very disorienting. And so hopefully this episode will be a bit of a reprieve from some of the chaos. It won't be a complete thing, I know, because, you can't fully escape reality. But we're here. And your boy's back. We're going to talk some PC gaming. So to continue on with some housekeeping stuff, as always, there's a new retrospective up on the website. Wesley, if you guys see Henshin Dad on Twitter, high five that dude digitally, or if you see him in the Discord server, high five him. Dude is cranking these articles out. The most recent one is on Mother 3, which
Dude,
is
what a boss, man. Seriously,
he's a
like,
boss.
dude, he's insane.
He
He's a
is.
crank. Like he does not have a chill, easy life where he has all this extra time to do these kind of things. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Wesley's an awesome dude, and I'm thankful for his content.
I still don't know how he beat all those Dragon Quest games in the course of like 3 months. Dude is a beast. Especially if you guys haven't read his retrospective on Xenoblade Chronicles. Like, what a piece of work. It's amazing. So the link is in your show notes for all that. I've already mentioned the Discord server. If you're not in there, get your life together. The link will be in your show notes. Also follow me on Twitch. We have a thing on there. Adam kind of already went over the streaming schedule. That's already on the Twitch channel as well. Link to that will be in your show notes. Definitely encourage you guys to stop by sometime. We started the Summer of Justice series recently where we're going to play through all of the Batman Arkham series games this summer. So it's going to be totally awesome over there. And we have a thing that we always start off the stream with. It's called Pray Before We Play. So we always have a time. If you jump in early enough, drop a prayer request and we'll pray for that and we'll knock that out. But that is on twitch.tv/TheTheoLogan. And then also, if you like what we're doing here at TRG, you can go to patreon.com and lend support. Pledging support as low as $1 a month gets you sweet perks such as like early access to all of our episodes. I should say early uncut access to all of our episodes. So you hear all of the awkward like phrasing or me fumbling over words that you don't catch in the public feeds. You get all that stuff there. You get behind the scenes content and more. It's patreon.com/thereforumgamers. But if you can't support us financially, we understand. We do ask that you leave a rating and review for the show on your podcast app of your choice. But without further ado, I get to say this again and it feels so good. Hello and welcome to the Reform Gamers. We like to start off the show like we always do with a little bit of what have we been playing. And Zach, my boy, the bearded wonder, dude, what have you been getting into? I feel like we're going to talk about like the same PC games, but let's just get into it.
Yeah. All right. In the show notes, in all caps with an exclamation point, I have Valorant. It's everything that I wanted in a tax shooter. So for those who may not be familiar, especially console players, because CSGO, you know what? I take that back. I think CSGO came out, what was that thing called? The Orange Box?
Oh,
Do you
Half-Life
remember
Orange
that?
Box? Yeah, CSGO
Yeah, it
was
had
around
Half-Life, CSGO.
on Xbox.
Yeah, and
Was it?
yeah,
Was
Team
that
Fortress 2.
Team Fortress 2, Portal, Half-Life 3. Oh, maybe it was on there. Never mind. I don't know.
Half-Life 3. Don't you dare taunt me like that.
What did I say? I meant Half-Life 2. My bad, guys. My bad, dear listeners.
Oh man. Tax shooters just never really came to console. There haven't been that many to begin with, but Valorant, man, it's made by Riot Games, guys who made League of Legends, now Teamfight Tactics, which I also have listed as a game I've been playing. That's like an auto battler, which is like super popular on mobile, but also, originated on PC. Kind of think of it like people say an auto battler, like, what do you mean? If your parents let you watch and or read Harry Potter growing up, which I know for a lot of you listening probably was not a reality. Mine did. I was a Lutheran, not part of evangelical culture. Thanks, mom and dad. It is essentially Wizard's Chess, where like the chess pieces fight each other, and you like play them, and like the chess pieces have abilities and stuff like that. Anyways, TFT, Teamfight Tactics, Valorant's just been a ton of fun, especially when you get a group of 5 people. Shout out to some TRG folks too, Johnny, Austin Binkley, all those guys. It's been really fun playing with them, and some classic WoW thrown in, little sprinkle of spice of classic WoW sprinkled in between those things.
Nice. What do you think of classic WoW?
Honestly, like I played EverQuest 2 growing up.
Okay. Wow.
I never experienced WoW, and so I actually built my first PC when I was 13 with my confirmation money, because hashtag Lutheran. Is that a thing? Do people hashtag anymore? Anyways, don't matter. I built my first PC 13, and I built it to play EverQuest 2. So I've played MMOs my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have much time for them anymore. But yeah, being able to go back in time and play with a few friends and experience what they experienced when they were, 12, 13, 14, has been pretty fun. And it's a good grind. But it's a grind for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool. Cool. I haven't been playing Valorant. I have a key for it, but I mean, the game's already out of beta, and so I could download it if I wanted to, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet because I have been literally playing all of these different PC games since building my PC. After I finished building it and stuff, one of the other admins in the Facebook group, my boy Steven, sent me a code, like a 14-day trial code for Game Pass. So I was downloading games off there, trying out Gears of War 5, Forza Horizon 4, which I'll talk more about because that's what I've been primarily playing. A few other games like a Halo Master Chief Collection, Batman Arkham Origins. Like, there's so many games that I've been playing on this PC, and it's just been glorious. But the game that I've been playing the most on my PC has been Forza Horizon 4, which looks amazing on my PC.
Amen, dude. It is. I don't know what it is about car games. They look so good.
They always look amazing, and this one is no different, especially with the different seasons that it rolls through. Oh my gosh, it's literally just like, when you buy a new console, like a PS4 or whatever, and you try to buy the game that looks the prettiest, let's say Horizon Zero Dawn, you're like, oh man, this thing's gorgeous. That's basically what Forza Horizon 4 is for me right now. Like, it's showing off my graphics card and letting it flaunt itself. Remember when I first downloaded it and I ran a benchmark test on it, so like I could see kind of what the performance was and get an idea of what settings I should put on. It finished the benchmark thing and just put everything and put it up into the highest setting, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I'm just sitting here playing it. Took a couple screenshots, posted them on Facebook, and my wife was like, what car show are you watching? And I'm like, yes.
Yep. Oh, amen, dude.
So
P.S. Isn't that such an amazing feeling? Like,
it
that
really
alone, like having the game tell you, like, oh yeah, we're cranking this bad boy up, and you're like, yes, crank it, dude. I love that feeling, being able to just max a game out and see it for all of its intended glory. It's something to marvel at.
It looks stinking good. If you guys follow me on Facebook, you guys can see some of the screenshots and videos I uploaded. It's so good. And Forza Horizon 4, man, what a game. I mean, I have beat that drum of Forza Horizon being the best video game series out there right now on the market. And this one just takes, it's not too much better than 3. I think 3 is kind of the pinnacle of Horizon, but it's still more of Forza Horizon 3. It adds in some new cool little things with the locales and the season changes and the cars and all that. But it's still just, it's so good. It's a lot of fun. And the fact that it's on Xbox Game Pass and I just can play it, like, what a thing. What a day this is for me to wear my flip-flops on here and start talking about PC gaming and Xbox. You know what I'm saying? Saying positive things.
I hear it. Preach, brother.
But it's good. I'll get more into that a little bit later. But some of the other games I've been playing have been Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on the Nintendo Switch. I was super hyped about this game. And I mean, I put a couple hours into it on the 3DS, really enjoyed it there. Never finished it because I hated playing it on the 3DS because the weird little pencil eraser nub thing in the screen, and it didn't really look that good. So it was kind of hard to play. But now you have it on the Switch, which feels great to play it on. It looks really good. Like, I'm pretty sure they just took the engine from 2 and applied it to this one and changed some things. It's a great game. It looks really good. It plays really well. And it's just perfect for that on-the-go kind of play. And in my opinion, I think it's better than Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I've only put like 5 hours into this one so far out of the almost 100.
Hot take? Is that a hot take, actually?
Yeah, it might be, but I'm not entirely sure. My thing is, I'll say this. I much prefer the tone of this one than I do 2. 2 is leaning heavily into the anime themes and tropes.
Okay, I was just about to say that. 2 lost me with like so sometimes I love that anime feel, right? Like it can fit a game really well. But then when you go from Xenoblade Chronicles, which playing that for the first time was, I thought, wow, Nintendo is finally stepping into that like open world RPG realm. And it has aspects that appeal to Western audiences, that, it's not just purely a Japanese only kind of RPG. And like, I was like, wow, here we go. Nintendo wanted to do something on a bigger scale. You can tell just because, I mean, as you were saying, like the engine in the first one, in the very, like when it first came out, not the definitive edition, it was rough around the edges, to say the least, like pop-ins and like it was rough. But like,
It was also on the Wii too, so I mean the hardware just wasn't
right,
really there to support what they were trying to do.
yeah. And then you get to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and you're just like, wait, I thought we were going with a kind of realistic sci-fi kind of feel, and now I'm
Hmm.
just in an anime. Sometimes it trips me up when games change their art style like that.
Yeah, and it is jarring, but this one just has. I just like the tone better. It's more serious. It's more grounded. It's more. It just I don't know. To me, it just fits my what I'm looking for a little bit better. And it just overall, it's really good. I'm impressed with how they essentially remastered this game and added in some new content. And what's cool is if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you can actually it'll read your save and then it give you like an insane amount of money to start the game off with, so you can get like the best armor in the game. And it doesn't really help you. I can tell you that from experience. You're still gonna have to grind some levels out and get and upgrade your equipment and all that, but it gives you a little bit of an edge. But yeah, fantastic game. Really enjoying my time with it. I just thank you so much for Nintendo for bringing this thing to the Switch and allowing me to actually finish it. So if you guys are playing that, you guys let me know. The last game I'll talk about, but very briefly because I'm writing a review for it, is this game called The Takeover. It's a ode to like classic Streets of Rage beat 'em up kind of games that we got a review code for, and I've been playing that on the Switch. I finished it recently here, and I'll put my full review up on the website. But just kind of my initial thoughts of the game is that it does a really good job of making it feel like it's a game from the 90s, which is both bad and good. It's good in that it captures that classic beat 'em up gameplay and it feels good to play, and it's just classic, and it has these comic book style cutscenes in between the levels that are kind of inconsistent. There's times where the art looks goofy, and there's other times where it's kind of reminiscent of the old school Ninja Turtles comic book. So it oscillates between the
Oh,
two.
dang. Okay.
And it's pretty cool. The music is hit or miss, which is what it is. There's a story tied to it, but we don't really play beat 'em ups for stories. At least I don't. Um, but that being said, the game has a few issues. I don't particularly care for Megan's design or some of the female characters and how their designs are. It's just a little. It's pretty revealing. In some ways, it's just it's weird.
That's a generous take. I googled it because I had never heard of it, and
Yeah,
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 that,
you know what I'm talking about. But
revealing. That's generous. Yeah.
yeah, you guys will see in the review. Well, you won't because I'm not going to put screenshots up of that particular thing.
I was like,
I'll talk
whoa,
about it. I'll talk
not on
about
this
it.
Christian Minecraft server.
Oh my goodness. Been gone for a month and I still fumble over words. But anyway, so there's that. The game does feel kind of clunky to play at times. There's this weird ramp in difficulty closer to the end of the game to where like I played it on easy. I'm going to go back and play through on normal and hard and just see what the difference is. But it's really weird how it ramps up. There's this inclusion of like supernatural stuff in one level, and I'm like, this just doesn't fit at all within the game. And so I'll get more in depth in the review, but overall it's okay. I think if you were to find the game on sale, you'd probably really enjoy it maybe. But I mean, I didn't hate my time with it. I do think the levels are a little too long, but I didn't really hate my time with the game. I think it's a pretty strong effort from this studio. And honestly, I think if they come out with a Takeover 2 and fix some of those things that I have issues with, or what I'm seeing other people have issues with online, I think it'll be a strong entry. I think it'll be a pretty good companion to Streets of Rage 4 or those kind of games that are making a comeback. But that's my thoughts on it so far. So I mean, I don't hate the game. I don't necessarily love it like I did Streets of Rage 4. But like I said, I'll put out my review here hopefully soon, and you guys will be able to get more of an idea from there. That being said, though, we're going to switch gears and talk about what have we been reading. So, Zach, man, what are some things you have been reading?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I kind of quickly mentioned. So I go to Covenant Seminary, the PCA's seminary in St. Louis, and I am finishing up there. 9 credits left, about to graduate. Super pumped.
Nice, dude.
But I am in my Pentateuch class, and in it we are going through a book called From Paradise to the Promised Land, an introduction to the Pentateuch, the third edition of it. It's by Desmond Alexander, T. Desmond Alexander. And I mean, it's hefty, it's not for the faint of heart, so to speak. 314 pages with like 40 pages of like bibliography and recommended readings. So, I mean, it's more academic, right? But man, yeah, been learning a lot. And when the OT is understood and made richer through study, it really helps you see Christ's beauty and his glory, like so much more than you thought. Like, I love those like stages of life where you're just like, yeah, you're just kind of going through it, the motions and whatnot, and walking with Jesus through it. And then like there's just those moments that happen where like Jesus is made more beautiful and more glorious. And I kind of feel like this class is doing that. I'm having one of those moments where, yeah, man, just it's been really great. Totally, if you guys want to do a much more deeper dive into the Pentateuch as a whole, the first 5 books of the Bible, it's a great book.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also, my wife and I, especially during lockdown, we're still in lockdown in St. Louis City, so we've been trying to find ways to be more intentional in our spiritual lives, and trying to figure out like how to lead well and whatnot. And in that, so I'm kind of artsy, I more musical oriented in the art, and I've been trying to figure out how to go through a Psalter and like do like psalm chants and stuff like that without instruments. And one of the books that has been super helpful in all of this, from our Anglican brothers, Book of Common Prayer, going through just the daily motions morning and evening, has been so huge for me and my wife. Super easy to pick up too, and just start going at it. And it gives you the scriptures, it gives you prayers, and like being able to add to the prayers. It's just been super helpful for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's something I'm noticing a lot of people are doing during this time is intentionally creating those routines. So to speak. I hate to call it routine because that sounds like negative, but like it is a kind of a routine of getting into prayer or Bible study or something like that. And it's just, I don't know, it's cool to hear these stories because it's like what that, I can't remember where the verse is exactly, but it's like redeeming the time. That's cool, man. I'm glad you guys are doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like any of us had any sort of like laid out outline on what to do once you get into lockdown and you can't go to church and everything else. So yeah, man, it's been really big for us.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, dude. As far as the book that I've been reading, I spent some time, because when this whole coronavirus stuff started, I got, I don't think I ever brought this up on the show, but I got really, not like depressed, but I was really struggling with fear and things like that, anxiety and all that. It really ramped it up to like 25, not even way past 10. Finally took some time and started reading John Piper's Coronavirus in Christ. And I'm not going to lie, it helped in a lot of different ways in ultimately reminding me of God's sovereignty. We're all, I think even some of us are probably still at that point, or we may be well past that point where like, we don't care, let's just go outside now. I think there's some of us that are still like, we want to be cautious and we want to be careful in terms of, going outside with a mask, gloves, whatever, all that stuff. My thing is that the thing that was the worst for me is that I used to be a really bad germaphobe. So during this whole time, it brought back all of those bad tendencies that I used to have where I was just worried about everything. What John Piper did here is just kind of remind me of like the sovereignty of God. It's like, because he says this in his book, it's like, if I get the coronavirus, God ordained it. I'm like, whoa. John Piper, what are you saying? And he just kind of explained it more. It's like, if it happens, it happens, is essentially what it boils down to. And I'm like, where does he get his peace from? And then he started talking about Christ and how he's secure in that. He's secure in his salvation. And I'm just like, yeah, I needed to be reminded of this stuff. And I'm not saying Christians should go out there willy-nilly and, ignore all the stuff. I mean, if you want, it's up to you, you do what you want. But it's just, it got me to think, if I do wind up getting it, it's going to be okay. If I get it, doesn't change the fact that God still got me. Doesn't change the fact that I'm still a Christian. Doesn't change the fact that, God's ultimately with me. And so I don't know. It was good for me. I really enjoyed it. It's a brief read. I didn't necessarily finish it just because. I mean, I'm cutting out things in my schedule as of late. The things that I'm realizing I'm stretching myself thin, and I just can't get through everything. And so it's a good read. I think if there's any of you guys out there, guys or gals that are still kind of fearful of this thing, would definitely encourage you to read it. I think it'll help kind of set some fears at ease. And draw you back to Christ at the same time, which is always good. So, quick reminder before we get into the topic here is to leave a rating and review of the show on iTunes, Podchaser, whatever app that you are using, because that helps the show in a big way. But now comes the time that we're going to talk about PC building, the thing that I've been looking forward to talk to this entire past few weeks when I'm like, yes, I'm coming back to the show. Built my PC, and here we go. So, here's how I kind of want to tackle this, right? I've already admitted to the fact that I can't shut up about my PC. It's literally all I talk about. It got to a point where I was trying to tell my church secretary all these parts that I'm buying and how I'm building a PC. Literally, all of it was going over her head. I could tell just by the glossed over look in her eye, but I didn't care because I wanted to tell anybody and everybody about this thing, right? So what I want to do is talk about that, just kind of the experience of it, some things to look out for, because holy cow, I did not know that spring-loaded screws needed that much pressure. So I'll talk about that stuff, and then kind of just transition over to just because again, I mentioned this at the top of the show. This topic has come up a lot here recently. I think it's because there's a few reasons for it. A lot of people are at home, they're bored, they want something to do, and now's a good time. Well, we'll discuss if now's a good time to build a PC or not. There's just a lot of questions out there, like what do I do? What do I look for? How do I find the right parts? Is it worth the investment? Those kind of things. How difficult is it? Is it complicated and all that stuff? And we'll get into that. So hopefully this is a valuable resource for those of you that are looking into PC building or have considered it. Hopefully this will kind of give you some help and some guidance on that. And as always, if we don't answer a question on here, we don't get to a particular subject that you were wanting to discuss about PC building, then you can always hit us up in the Facebook group, Discord server. Either one of those are great avenues from there as well. I believe Aaron White from Feel and Film got some solid advice from the Facebook group. So you can go either way. Now, my first building experience was a roller coaster of emotions, if I could say that. And Zach, you can probably relate to this, is, once you get your part list of what you're going to buy, of what you're looking for, there's this anticipation that tends to build with each new part that you get that comes in. And you're just like, dude, this is awesome. This is exciting. I can't wait to do it.
Oh, the hype is unreal.
The hype is insane. Like, you guys have prepared me for it. Like, I remember, I'm pretty sure I posted several pictures of my graphics card after I got it. And I was like, it's just so cool. But there's that hype that builds. It's that anticipation building of like, you're about to build a PC. Overall, my first experience was a roller coaster of emotions. Putting the thing together, I'm not gonna lie, it was scary because at first, to give you guys a brief idea of how to start building your PC, you start with the motherboard and then you put in the CPU, which is a little square block that fits right inside there. It fits in there only one way. You can't mess that up. You really can't. If you do, I don't know.
You definitely can. Oh
how
my
do you
gosh.
mess that up? It
went in
oh
my god.
Okay. How do you mess it up?
Okay. So let's first of all, man, this is going to be really hard to describe PC building over something like purely audio. You started describing it, and I was like, "Oh boy, this is going to be like the x-axis is in the gyro and the like." It's just like whoa. But oh man, I have seen horrendous builds of like someone building their first time and like putting their thermal paste, like thinking, oh, paste, right? Okay, let's take this for like logic 101, right? You grow up, you're in kindergarten, you take two pieces of paper, right? And you have a glue stick, and you go, I want to put these two things together. Let's grab the glue stick. Let's grab this glue stick, grab this piece of paper, put them together. Bam, they're together. They're stuck. Let's go. Okay, so let's take that logic 20 8 years later, right? You're building your computer for the first time. You got a sense of pride about it, right? You don't want to look at a YouTube video. You don't want to look at Linus Tech Tips, right? Garbage. Get it out of here. You are going to do it by yourself. And so you have thermal paste and you go, hey, two things. Let's put these two things together. I have seen people brick
People
their,
do
well,
that?
not only their CPU, but their motherboards because they put the paste in the socket with the processor thinking, oh,
Oh,
paste goes together to put two things together, right? Okay, so I'll put the paste here. So yeah, it's so that's not to intimidate. P.S. That's not. I'm not saying this to intimidate first-time builders, right? What Logan is saying, like, yeah, you would be pretty hard pressed to find out of a survey of 100 people. I can guarantee no one in those 100 people would most likely do this, right? These are like weird one-off cases, but it is
mhm.
possible. Like people do this stuff, and yeah, it's I've
Yeah.
seen it done before I could stop it. Buddy back in high
Mhm.
school building, pride wanted to do it himself, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
Needless to say, his
That hurts a
mom
little
was
bit.
a little upset.
I bet. I bet because those motherboards and processors are not cheap. Overall, that was the hardest part for me was getting the CPU, which is literally a little like square microchip thing put into the motherboard that goes into it one specific way. That wasn't the hard part. It was the hard part was getting the fan on top of it because the fan that I got has spring loaded screws and you have to apply a ton of pressure on those to get it into the actual board, the sockets or whatever
Oh
to
yeah.
get the screws secure. And I didn't know that. So I spent probably 40 minutes trying to get the fan on and it just kept
Freaking
popping
out,
up
thinking you're
on one
about
of
to
the.
break this thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so I
Yeah.
finally watched a YouTube video that said, yeah, just apply a lot of pressure. You have to get those in there. You're not going to break your motherboard. You'll be okay. And I was like, I don't believe you, but I'll do it. But once I got it on there, it was like, okay, well, that was easy enough. Easy,
Yeah.
right? 40 minutes later.
Yeah.
But then after that, like putting everything else into place, I mean, you have it in the notes here, advanced Legos. It really was advanced Legos. There is a certain way to put certain things in, and that actually gives me another idea for a second tip. But once I got all that figured out, it was smooth sailing. I knocked the thing out, and after I got the fan on there, I knocked it out in probably an hour and a half to 2 hours, I want to say, building and just cable management and all that stuff and getting it together. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to build another one of these. And then I had to like do the troubleshooting once I like try to get Windows on there and get it connected to the internet and do all the like updates and stuff because my Ethernet thing wouldn't work for some reason. Well, I know what the reason is, but like at that time, I didn't know why the Ethernet port wasn't working, so I couldn't connect it to the internet, and I was so frustrated. Just turns
Oh
out you had
sure.
to update a driver, and then it started working just fine. And so I was like, okay, this is really frustrating. This better be freaking worth it, because at this point I was livid. Like I hated running into all these issues. I was angry.
Bro, why didn't you call? I
God,
totally would have FaceTimed in and like,
it's that
let's
pride
tackle
thing,
this.
man. It's
It
that
is. It
pride thing.
is.
And
I totally get it. I get it.
I was like, I want to do this myself. I'm a man. I can do this. But once I got it all set up and got Windows on here and started downloading like Steam and some other programs and stuff and getting games on there, the moment I started up a couple of the games, like Batman Arkham Origins was one of the first ones I started up, looked like a freaking console remaster or
Yeah.
remake on my PC. And I was like, this is insane. And then
Yeah.
booting up Halo Master Chief, playing Halo Reach and seeing how there's like a reflection in the visors of the Spartans now. I'm like, that wasn't there on my Xbox 360. This looks way better. Starting up Forza Horizon 4 and Rise of the Tomb Raider, running a benchmark to where it put everything up on the highest settings, and I started playing it. I was like, never mind. This was totally worth it. Like,
Mhm.
this is insane. Like, my brain is still trying to mesh back into a solid form after being melted at how good Forza Horizon 4 looks on my computer, and it runs real well. I mean, if you guys follow me on Twitch, you guys know the difference it's made because I've talked about it on there, and I'm using it for streaming and things like that. It's awesome, and I don't know if I'm at a stage where like I would want to build another one again. But at the same time, I'm like, if I were to build another one, I know what to do. I know what things to look out for. And I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue next time because I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and that's how it always is though, right? Too. Like, I mean, it's just kind of think of it like if there's like, I don't know if you guys have ever known a car guy, right? But
Right.
those guys, the guys who are like really into something, which like they can cultivate and make more powerful. If I get the spoiler on the back, it gives me wind resistance, and it can do that. Like if I put the turbo in, it like, I mean, PC gaming is similar, right? I mean,
Right.
and once you get that beautiful RGB, that side window going, that nice cable management, it's like I just want to start up my PC to look at it, dude. Like it's
Right.
a really cool machine.
And I think there's something to be said about like putting something together yourself. There's something different about it. This isn't like going to Best Buy and buying a PlayStation 4. You have a little bit of pride in there, maybe because you're gonna get some platinum trophies like a boss. It's totally different when you put this thing together yourself because you know how it works. You know where the parts are. You know how they go together, and it's like I don't know. There's something totally different about it.
So okay, let me give you a biblical theology of PC building. Okay,
Oh snap! Here we go.
let me
Let's
hit
get
you with
reformed.
this. Yeah, here we go. In the garden, when God charged Adam with making him in his image, right?
Hmm.
Image, Mago Dei, ruler, kingdom, giving him those kingdom commands, right? Hey, go forth, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it, right?
Hmm.
Adam, like our first father, we want to be like Adam. We want to cultivate things, right? When we talk about Adam, it's typically always like not Adam of TRG, but Adam in the garden, right? Like it's typically in a bad sense, right? Oh, the first man sin brought the yeah, right. But
Yeah, we only talk
Adam
about Adam in the
also,
good sense. Adam from this podcast, sneaky
Adam
bearded
in a good sense, right? We do want to be like Adam, like the last Adam, Jesus, in ways where we do things with our hands, where we cultivate things as men. That desire is innate to every man, because men cultivate things. We
man.
and subdue doesn't isn't a negative sense, right? But when we build things with our hands, carpentry, PC gaming, when we build something with our hands, we can step back, we can admire it like God, because we're made in his image, we're creators too, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
We want to create these things, and we want to step back and admire and be like, hey, I did that. I created this. This is awesome. And I can make it go faster by adding this piece, or by overclocking this part, or fill in the blank, right? And so it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense why we are starting to see the large influx of PC gamers, and PC gaming as a whole has just continued to grow every year, because I mean, believer or not, Christian or not, men love to create and cultivate. And
Hmm.
so that scratches that itch, while also giving you something to be productive on, or to play video games on.
Wow. Dear listeners, what other podcast are you going to hear a biblical theology that's basically telling you to go build a PC right now? Nowhere else. Nowhere else. You heard it here first. It's biblical command to build PCs. I'm sort of kidding, but also kind of not. But yeah, so it's a process. And we'll get into this a little bit later when we answer the question, like, is building a PC as difficult as people say or what people think? But that was my first experience, right? There was this moment of like excitement, hype, going and then hitting some roadblocks. And you're like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? Hitting a few more roadblocks and being frustrated, but then ultimately winding up really enjoying it, really, really enjoying it. And man, I want to talk to you a little bit. What was your first experience building a PC like? If we could just explain that real quick before we go any further.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I built my first PC when I was 13 going on 14. I had a lot of help. So this is
Hmm.
before YouTube, obviously,
Right.
because I'm a boomer. But um, I'm not a boomer, but I mean, at heart, let's be real, I am. But
To many in Gen Z, you're a boomer.
but yeah, no, a buddy's uncle who worked in IT, who actually got me and my buddy really excited about EverQuest 2, said, hey, if you wanted to, instead of like just watching me play when you come over to your friend's place, and because he lived with him for a time, my buddy lived with his uncle for a time, and we would watch him play. And he's like, "Hey, if you guys don't want to just watch me but play with me, we could build you a computer." And that concept to me was so foreign, especially at that point, right? Like
Yeah.
we're still talking Windows, like Windows XP had just come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember like timing for it, like time wise,
It's
what that
definitely a
was,
while.
but yeah, I think XP had come out at that point. Anyways, so yes, there was so many unknowns for me, right? So
Mhm.
like everything I was learning about it, I was learning secondhand from someone teaching me, like similar
Mm.
to how trade skills were done back in the days, right? Like
Yeah.
if you went
Yeah.
into carpentry, you watched the carpenter as the apprentice, right? You know, electrician, watched the master electrician do his thing. And so I just watched him. How he was like setting everything up and whatnot just kind of blew my mind. I just couldn't like putting the CPU in, like you were saying, you know, even back then it was still kind of just place and drop kind of placement, right?
Mm.
But yeah, chords, everything that was going into it just fascinated me. I couldn't like at that age, I was like, man, I press this button and that thing I see on the screen is inside this, and I helped
Yeah.
make this. Like that
Yeah.
was such a cool concept to me. And so my love for PCs, just in general, just tech in general, but specifically with PC building, I just fell in love with it. So that first time though, cool. I mean, it's gonna like no one's gonna have that instance in their life again because I mean information is so accessible, right? But
Mm-hmm.
for me, it would have been impossible. Let's just say that. Like it just would have been impossible without
Yeah.
someone helping me along the way.
Yeah. Definitely. And what's funny is you brought this up, and I failed to even mention it. That moment when you first hit the power button and everything just kicks on and starts working, and the fan starts spinning, and all this. It's like,
I'm pretty sure it's the same feeling women experience when they're done giving birth, right? And it's okay, maybe that's a terrible analogy. My wife is going to hate me for that one. But
oh, totally.
I mean, yeah, the relief of that thing powering on and you see the RGB lights going on, you're just like, I I am I'm not God, but I have created and it is
Right.
alive.
It's like
I
I
mean that
made something.
Frankenstein moment.
Yeah. It's pretty rad. It's pretty rad. So it's definitely a one of a kind experience, right? I mean, now I get why so many people talk about it because it is. I mean, you put it together. You forge this thing. Well, maybe not forge it, but like you put it together.
Oh
Um,
no, you hammer and anvil, you forged that thing. That's good
I
and
mean,
I like it.
I felt like I was using a hammer and anvil on those spring loaded screws. Holy cow, those things did not move.
Make a
But
wrong move, you're like Thor, electricity flying out.
pretty much. Um, but yeah, so like, I mean, here's the thing. I want to tackle this question first and foremost because we're all kind of beating around the bush on this. Is building a PC as difficult as some people think? Kind of yes, kind of. I mean, it really depends on what happens. It really depends on how you go about it. For me, it was not it wasn't anywhere near as difficult as what I originally thought it was. You know, 4 years
Yeah.
ago when Zach came on here and talked about it, I was like, this sounds like it's insanely difficult. 4 years into the future here, where we are in current day, it's not that hard. Like you're
Yeah.
going to encounter some issues with the main thing that you're going to encounter the most issues with is probably troubleshooting and trying to get some certain things to work.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, for sure.
but like, and Zach, would you agree that like pretty much everything goes in one specific way? You could probably mess it up. Like with the RAM, I know you can try to put it in the wrong way, but it won't go into the slots. Like
Right.
everything
Yeah,
goes
I mean,
in one specific way, right?
right. Like PC building today is pretty dummy proof. Like
Yeah.
if you forget to take the plastic off of your CPU heatsink, your computer's going to fry itself in like 10 seconds and it's going to automatically shut down. You're not going to do any permanent damage to it, right? But like things like that, right? Like you remove the plastic from the heatsink. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. You know, like really obvious things. And
Hmm.
like it's almost like you have to try to make a mistake in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Because
Yeah.
like you were saying, like even with the, you know, putting the CPU into the motherboard, you have to line up shapes, right? I mean, like if we can, if any of you listeners have really young kids, right, and you're playing the shapes game with them, and they're 2-year-old Mikey is trying to put a square peg, into a circle, and it's just not really working. And he tries another way of doing it, and it goes through. And he's like, "Oh, cool. That's literally PC building." I mean, honestly, like if you try, like you said, like if you try and put RAM in the wrong way, it ain't going. And I mean, the silicone and the plastics and the metals that they use for making a lot of these things, they're really durable, like honestly. And I know the exact feeling you're talking about. You're like, man, I'm absolutely gonna snap my motherboard in half. Like I know that feeling because even me, like like this fracking sound when you're putting it in and stuff. Like I totally get that. But everything has instructions and they're very clearly laid out. And it's just like, in the notes I said Legos for adults, right? I think it really does come down to that. Like if you've ever built Legos or IKEA furniture, heaven forbid, and you get to eventually you always get to a step and you look at that picture and they're like, what in the world are they? Is this an alien? Am I actually looking at an alien? Like, and then you like pause for a second and you're like, oh wait, oh, I see what they're doing here, right? Like those kind of moments and when you're first building, and I'm sure you can probably echo that, where you do have those moments, but it's getting over those humps. And maybe I think this is probably what you were alluding to eventually. Once you get over those humps and things start coming together more and more, and then you take a step back and realize, oh, I'm on step 15 and it's done. All I have to do is like manage the cables a little bit. You do get that moment of, whoa, I did this. That was kind of easy, little frustrating at points, but I think yeah, ultimately in the end, once you dispel the the mythos of PC gaming is scary to make just by watching a YouTube video. I mean, honestly, there are so many great guides out there, right? That even if you don't watch it when you first put it together, if you just watch it beforehand and say, dear listeners, you are all right. Zach just said it's not as scary. Logan just said it's not as scary as I'm thinking it is. Where would I go to maybe see if what they're saying I could maybe resonate with a little bit? Linus Tech Tips, Paul's Hardware, Bitwit, these tech channels have build guides where you can look at how they're doing things in slowed down time or like halftime or like sped up time, whatever, and see for yourself like, oh wow, it really is as easy as lining up holes with screws and screwing it in.
Yeah. And dear listeners, I'll actually include. It's funny that you mentioned those 3 channels because I watch build guides from those 3 channels and a few others. So dear listeners, here's what I'll do. I'll put some links into the specific videos that I watched for you guys to get an idea of where certain parts go where, and to check that out. And I want to say this too, like don't be afraid to go watch a build guide or a video or something and thinking like you got to put it together yourself without that. No, that's stupid. Go watch some of those videos, get an idea of what you're getting into if you're looking into building, because I feel like from what I've seen, a lot of these parts are roughly similar in terms of setup and putting parts where. And so if you watch one build guide, you kind of have a pretty good idea or a good framework of how to work on other motherboards or things like that, because they're all relatively similar. They just might have different slots and different spots on the board or something like that. Would that be pretty accurate, Zach?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, go and watch any build guide, and you're going to be greeted with what is on a macro level the same exact thing that you'll experience building it firsthand. The only difference is, like you said, some have more slots than others on the bottom of the board. The socket type of the motherboard with the CPU, it might look a little different depending if you get an Intel versus an AMD, right? But at the end of the day, it really is. I mean, it's standardized, right? Like that's how. They wouldn't be able to do this unless it was standardized. So, it being standardized makes building in particular a lot easier to do overall.
Definitely. And a few more things I'll kind of share with you guys as well. If you're looking into getting a PC building, this is going to sound super weird. Okay. I'm well aware of this and I don't care. Go look up the game PC Building Simulator on your Switch, PS4, Xbox, YouTube videos, whatever.
Wait, they have console versions of that?
Yeah, dude. I have it on my Switch.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
I plan on getting the platinum trophy for it on my PS4. It's going to be awesome. But like, so here's the thing. The game does a really good job of getting you accustomed to building a PC in the sense that it doesn't let you put a fan like where the graphics card is supposed. It doesn't let you do that. It all goes in one way. It goes back to that philosophy that we brought up. They all go in one way. Yeah. And it does a good job of kind of helping you get accustomed to that and how to like manage your cables and do all that. And it's in video game format. So it allows you to kind of have a hands-on feel to it. And you can play it that way. I know that sounds weird to play a game called PC Building Simulator, but it's pretty close to what it's like to actually build a PC. There is some difference because, you know, if you build a PC, you're probably going to get different parts and those might have different things to them that are going to be unique to that. But that's what I played all last year leading up to this. And I felt pretty capable when I got my PC. I mean, I went into PC Building Simulator, took all the parts I was putting into this PC and built it in the game. And I'm like, well, I know where everything goes now because I built it.
That's super cool. Honestly, I didn't realize it had that kind of like intricacy to it.
Oh yeah. It's really, really cool. I would suggest play it on PC because playing it on a controller is a little weird, but you probably haven't built your PC yet. But yeah, try that out. I think it's on sale on a couple different outlets. I think it's on sale on PS4 right now. I may be wrong. Don't quote me, but play that, try it out, see what you think. And I think you'll come to realize that it's not as difficult as what you may think it is.
I will give a fair warning though. If you play it or you go and watch these YouTube videos, you will feel a deep compulsion to go and build a PC. Yep. So just fair warning, throwing it out there.
It's absolutely true. So man, let me ask you this question then, because we're going to have that sensation to build. Is now a good time to build a PC? I have my thoughts on it, but I mean,
absolutely not.
Okay.
No, so yes, in a sense of please always build. It's super fun. It is a deep passion. I've built many over my lifetime for friends, for family, for myself. It is a joy once you get over that initial hump, right? No, in the sense that coronavirus over here ruining everything, dude. It has jacked prices up like crazy. So before the show started, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to put together a really quick build on Micro Center real quick. They, first of all, they don't even have RTX 2060 Supers for sale. But more than that, they're selling GTX 1660s for $270. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. Like a 260 or a 2060 Super is cheaper than that MSRP. What? What's going on? So no, right now with Corona going on and everything, now is not a good time to build because everything but what seems to be processors and motherboards seem to be pretty jacked up in prices. So overall, right now, probably not.
Yeah.
But please build because it's really fun.
And that's kind of where I land. Like, I'm like, build because it's fun. And so we can play Overwatch and other games together on PC. But also, like, it is pricey. I know people are curious, like, how much I actually dropped on my PC. And I'm going to give you guys full disclaimer. I'm trying to think of what all parts were given to me. I think it was just my power supply with the cables and all that was the only thing that I got from the sound guy at my church. And I bought everything else. Well, all the parts that I bought, my monitor, my keyboard, I had a mouse already. All together was probably around $1,000 to put this all together. Which, by the way, thank you for those of you that are subs to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TheTheoLogan. Appreciate all the subs and the bits, especially you, dear VIP Lava Burner, because he gifted like close to 100 subs. I don't know how he did it. Like, just craziness.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Now, so I mean, I know some people are like, whoa, I don't want to drop 1,000 on there. I get it. That's fine. And it's like what Zach said. Probably really not the best time to buy it because of the prices and stuff. I hit up, I think you mentioned him earlier, Jono, SDG Jahani on Twitch.
Yeah.
He helped me like find like certain parts that were on sale that had pretty good sales prices. Really, if you just go to reddit.com/r/build a PC sales, you'll be able to see like when certain parts are on sale, kind of get those and stuff. Like the monitor I have is originally $400 and I got it for like $170 after shipping and all that. So, I mean, if you pay attention to that board, you'll be able to find stuff on sale pretty well. But I think the most expensive part that's in my computer is that graphics card. Because,
and I mean, that's the most important part too.
yeah,
Well, kind of.
So, but even then, it's like the graphics card that I have. I mean, it also depends on like what you're gonna do, right? I mean,
right.
Just because I spent $1,000 on this PC doesn't mean you are either. Because I needed this thing to handle Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, which, by the way, I did listen to the last episode. I heard Adam and Micah making fun of me, but I needed it to handle streaming, video editing, audio editing. I told Jahani when he put the guide together, like some light gaming, but like this thing handles Forza Horizon 4 at the highest setting. So I don't know. But like I needed it to handle a lot of different things. Some of you are not going to be streaming on your PCs. Some of you guys are probably just going to play Apex Legends, which is fine. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying you're not going to be wanting to do some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing. So because I spent $1,000 on a PC doesn't mean you're going to. It also depends on like when you do it. You know, you might find parts for cheap or have connections at your church where people are going to be able to give you the parts, and you're going to save money there, which is what allowed me to put more towards the graphics card because I had the power supply gifted to me. Which, by the way, I don't even know if Alan listens to this, but dude, if you do, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Alan.
There's that. Okay, it depends on what you want to do, but let's dispense of this myth that you're gonna like chop your arm and your leg off trying to build these things. Alex Castellanos wrote in about this and kind of deals with this too. Is that I've dabbled with the idea to build a PC for a few years now, but when I get to thinking about what parts I'd want to install, I have the same problem. I keep saying, well, for a couple dollars more, I can get a better graphics card or a better processor or a better SSD. For those of you that don't know, that means solid state drive. It's a hard drive that has no moving parts. Anyway, next thing I know, I'm looking at a $1,500 PC when I should only be spending around $1,000. How do I know when to stop trying to get something a little bit better and still feel good about what I can get for a good price? Zach, I'm going to turn this over to you because I've been talking too much, and I really don't know how do you stop? You know?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm really proud of you. The fact that you asterisked and explained what an SSD was is the kind of passion that I hear in people when they first get into PC building and they start finding out all these like little tech, quickies and talks, and it's the beginning of something great. Let me just say that.
My hair is flowing backwards right now. I feel me, man.
Your RGB has somehow amplified itself into unbelievable levels just by itself. Yeah. So this is the same issue. Like, this isn't just PC building. This is a heart thing, right? Mm-hmm. Especially as men, like, well, I could get the lesser action package on my car, but this one comes with leather seats and an extra cup holder. I'm getting that extra cup holder, honey. Sorry, I'm getting it.
That extra cup holder comes in clutch when you're buying 2 sweet teas from Chick-fil-A. You hear?
Amen. Light ice, though. Let's be real. We don't want to.
Yeah, light ice. Go light ice.
Yeah. But so the same thing goes with PC building, right? You sit down, you decide your use case. All right, I'm gonna, maybe stream a little, maybe play a few single player graphically intense games that I want to look really pretty on my monitor, kind of thing. And so you go, okay, light streaming, light gaming, maybe I can work a little bit from it too, right? Mm-hmm. Which, side note, this relates to like the pricing and everything else, but this is the main difference. And this is what differentiates PCs, gaming PCs, from console, right? So like you say, oh man, I spent $1,000 on my PC. Well, hold up. We didn't just spend $1,000 to play solely video games on my PC, right? Like
Hmm.
for me personally, right now, I work from home because of lockdown. And
Right.
if I didn't have a powerful enough machine to have a VM, a virtual machine running on one monitor with um, remoting into my work computer on campus, with my ticket system in front of me connected to a VPN, like all of these things going on at once, I have to have a capable machine in order to do these things.
Yeah.
And so the $1,000 prospect starts to look a little different because now we're talking about value,
Right.
right?
Right.
So for a lot of people, I think, especially say Mac users or people who want to go, well, I want to do laptop gaming or something like that, right? You have to be able to assess use case scenarios. So for you, audio editing, video editing, streaming, light gaming, like all of those things combined, like yeah, I mean, you're going to need a PC that's a little more capable than what a $75 processor can give you. You need that
Hmm.
6 core, 12 cores, or 12 threaded beast of a Ryzen to do the things that you want to do with it. And so I think it comes down to a lot of the times not getting caught up in that game of, oh, if I spend 35 more here, I can get this, right?
Hmm.
It all goes back to that use case question. Well, sure, I could spend $35 more and get, fill in the blank, but how does that actually impact the things I'll be doing on it? And so by doing something like that, or doing it with a buddy who can see the bigger picture in a better way, or with spouse or someone who has input into the budget of this thing, let's say, right? It helps keep us in this, it gives us rails, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Driving around a curvy road, it gives us railing guide, guardrails to like keep us on that road so that we don't go, okay, well, it's $1,500 and now I have to justify to my wife why I need a $1,500 PC. It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
you can do it for a lot less. And just to give you dear listeners an idea, right now, even with the inflated prices as they are, the really quick build that looks really nice, awesome case, great GPU, CPU, all of those things I can build right now for a baller 1080p setup. 1080p, 60 to 120 frames. I can build something like that for $600, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that use case is specifically for someone who might do light streaming and, a little more graphically intensive games.
Hmm.
From this point, like once we have a base point with Alex's question, once you have that base point and you start getting those guardrails in place, then you can go piece by piece and go, okay, I don't need a, a motherboard that has RGB shooting out its butt and every crack and crevice there's light glowing from it. Like I don't need that, right? I just need a motherboard that's just going to work, right? There's $80 that we can cut right there. So
Hmm.
being able to do that, have those guardrails in place and a goal in mind with what you want to accomplish with the PC, I think is the best place to start when first building. Because otherwise, you're going to go off and you're always going to justify the next and best thing. You're always
Yeah.
going to do that. And it doesn't just come down to PC gaming. You're going to do that in life regardless. So
Yeah.
those guardrails are really important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's, I mean, I'll say a few things to that there. I think that's one of the things that helped me was, having my sound guy at church who builds PCs. I mean, there was a year where he built a lot of PCs, and so he really understands it and was able to kind of be like, dude, kind of pull back a little bit because you don't really need this, and a few other people were doing the same thing. My wife was a big one, big voice saying like, hey, don't stop. You don't need this thing to have you don't need to have the 20th century searchlights on your computer when it's doing the things. But something that you had said there too, and I love that you nailed this, is we got to stop thinking, like, if you're going to build a PC, stop thinking of it as just a gaming console, because it's
Yeah,
not.
it's not.
You know, it's an investment. You're going to be able to do so much more on that thing than just gaming. Like I was using Zoom on here for some of our youth meets and things like that. I mean, of course, spreadsheets. It's just it happens. Okay, it just happens. Doing that, doing streaming, doing some writing and stuff like that for the website, for some notes and things like that. I mean, you could do that on anything really, but you're not just gaming on it. You're
Right.
doing so much more. I haven't even gotten into audio editing on this thing yet, and I'm looking forward to doing that with this episode. I may put it back on my Mac. I don't know. We'll see. But doing video editing and doing all that, like I'm curious to see how all of that's going to work on here and see what it does. It's kind of like when people throw a fit that the iPhone costs as much as it does, which I think is $1,000 is pretty pricey for a phone, but that's besides the point. It's not just a phone anymore. It's a
Right.
computer, you know? And so you kind of have to shift your thinking there of like, your PC is going to be used for gaming. Yes, but it's going to be used for more too. And again, if you just wanted to build it for gaming, that's fine. But you don't need to deck the thing out with like all these different like high end parts or pricey parts or whatever like that, because it'd be like buying a Corvette and you may not even use the full horsepower out of the thing, you know?
I mean, yeah, so
So,
like that's a really good point, right? Because even when you go out and drop $1,500, $2,000 on a PC, there's all like with all things in life, there's always going to be a return that doesn't
mhm,
measure up to how you spend it, right? So like price
mhm,
to performance ratios come into massive play here, where you have currently in your system the exact same processor I have in my system, 6 cores, 12 threads, a processor that can not only stream well, but handle data processing, editing, scrubbing in videos, all those things really well.
mhm.
Now, could you have spent $200 more and gotten the 12 core 24 thread 3900X processor from AMD? Sure. Should you have? No. I mean, what it would have saved you maybe 2 minutes of your life at most.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, your use case doesn't justify the latest and greatest, so to speak, too. And
Right.
I think that's ultimately where people get suckered into buying pre-builds. And that's fine. Hey, you know what? If you're listening, you've got a pre-built PC. I'm not trying to shame you here.
Sure.
But I will say that in those use cases, in those scenarios, you're going to walk into Best Buy and you're going to get a salesman who knows nothing about the product he's selling you, and you are going to pay for something that not only did you not have any say in terms of the quality of parts going into it or the maker of the parts going into it, but you also are not going to be able to judge the kind of quality you're getting in these parts in terms of price to performance, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably the greater of sin in PC building is when decide to throw the hands in the air and just not care.
Yeah.
And I'm rhyming about a song here. My point stands. Long story short, don't buy pre-built. That's all I'm. That's it's a fancy way of saying don't do that to yourself. Don't try and convince yourself that the $2,000 computer at Best Buy is the thing you should. Don't go to Best Buy, see the Alienware 51 displayed in all of its glory, and go, "That's PC gaming. I can't afford that." Because as we've already discussed and kind of demonstrated too, that's not what PC gaming or building is about, and
Yeah.
you don't have to do that to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. You don't have to handicap yourself when it comes to building a PC. Now, Zach, I mean, you covered. I mean, you covered the whole pre-built thing. I wasn't even expecting to go there, but I'm glad you did. What are some other? Are there any other things that we can kind of dispel while we're here? You know, I tried to put a question out to our dear listeners to kind of get some feedback of like what questions they might have. And Alex, we got his question, and then uh, Aaron White was just super excited because he's like, dude, I'm getting my parts in now, and I'm like, I need help. But is there anything else that we can dispel while we're here that you can maybe think of? Because I've kind of hit all the things. I have one last recommendation I'll give to people when it comes to building a PC.
Yeah, I think we pretty much drove the two major points of PC gaming and the myth surrounding it.
Mhm.
I guess the third would be, yes, it is better than console. Like,
Yeah.
console fanboys, which just slumming in the mud, not knowing vacation at the sea is offered to you. Hashtag C.S. Lewis.
You're bringing Lewis into this.
But really though, I mean, it if we covered those two bases, and I think it addresses the other aspects that fall into PC gaming's myth as well. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, if you're not going to be bothered to build something, yeah, you want to just sit on your couch and not have to, I don't know, that see even okay, all right, here we go. I've got another myth to dispel, because even this myth has been busted.
Here we
I can
go.
sit on my couch with my Xbox controller or my Nintendo Switch controller or my PS4 controller or my Xbox 360 controller or my PS3 controller, and I can hook it up to a Steam Link or to an Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, NVIDIA Shield. So many things nowadays have the ability to sit from the comfort of your couch and in the family, living room, and play couch co-op games, or just chill in general on the couch, right? That is not exclusive to console gamers. So I guess that's also one more myth that I wanted to address there.
No way, man. That doesn't. No, I agree. I agree. I'm gonna have to hit up Dwayne Atkinson and see if I can get some Hammond B3s over here. For that section there. You actually just remind me of one other thing I do want to talk about. Because there is this conception of when it comes to gaming, oh, I can't PC game on my P or I can't PC game on my PC. Can you get words are hard in chat, please? I can't PC game on my couch. You absolutely can. You
Yeah,
absolutely for a variety of different things that you can do. It can be done. One other thing, because this came up on one of my posts, I can't remember what it was. Someone said that getting games started or getting into group chats or something was more complicated and not as simple as it is on console.
yeah.
That's baloney. I
Yeah, it
literally
is.
The other day, I literally opened up Forza Horizon 4, started a party chat with some friends, sent them an invite like I would on an Xbox, and we were all playing and chatting together. It's
Yep.
not that complicated. But you can literally open up Discord and start a party chat in there, boot your game up, and it's no different than doing it on PS4, Xbox. It's not that complicated. Now, you may run into issues with like drivers and stuff, but they're not as frequent as what you may think. I tried to boot up Batman Arkham Asylum for the stream earlier, and it wouldn't boot up because it had an issue with like DirectX or something,
Yeah.
and all I had to do was go to a website. I had to go to Microsoft's website, download the driver, game worked just fine. It
Right.
took maybe 3 minutes, if
Right,
that.
but you just even by giving a quote unquote con right there, you just gave a pro that far outweighs that con, right? You just talked about playing a game that is, wait, Arkham Asylum, that's 12 years old?
It's 2007, I think, is when it came out. Yeah,
Wait, really? Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Man,
it's
I'm
an
a
old game,
boomer,
dude.
dude. I'm so old. Okay.
It's an old game.
It, it's an old game. But right there, you just told everyone why PC gaming is also so brilliant in so
Uh
many
oh.
ways. Is
Uh
because
oh.
all you had to do was just click a little Microsoft link, download the DirectX 9 package PhysX thing that I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It's a
you
really
know exactly
silly
what I'm
issue.
talking about.
Yeah. I had to do the same thing. But all it is a really quick download. I mean, it's a really quick download. And
Yeah.
you go through the steps of installing it, and boom, you're set off to the races. And
Hmm.
right there, you're playing a 13-year-old game,
Hmm.
and I'm not good at math. Was that correct? I don't know.
Yeah, no,
And
that was it.
you're not having to worry about if your super old PS3 controller that's all grimed up and covered in gamer sweat, like you don't have to worry about keeping these consoles and everything else. Like the entire library from the PS3 and Xbox 360 is essentially on your PC now, right? And the same thing goes for PS2 games and
Yeah.
N64 games that you may have and are able to run through emulation.
Hmm.
So yeah,
And to speak to that too, I mean, here's another way to tease some people and try to get them to build a PC. I mean, you take it for what you will. This may not be an incentive for you, but like the fact that when I opened up the Xbox app and Alan Wake was right there on the front page, I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is one of my favorite games in the 360 area, and I can play it on my computer. Are you kidding me? Are
yeah,
you kidding me?"
for
And then I
real though.
opened up Steam and Dead Space was on there. I'm like, "What? What mystical land of milk and honey did I just walk into?" Like,
Okay,
this
you want to bring it one step further and talk about a river full of honey itself?
let's
Battlefront 2, not the
no.
latest Battlefront 2. Battlefront
Oh
2
no.
from PS2 era, they
Oh,
just
come on.
released online gaming servers for it, so you can play up to
Serious?
48 people in one game. Are you, like, come on.
What?
Or well, hold on. No, that doesn't sound right. Anyways, you can
That sounds
have
great.
a lot of people in a game that is made in who knows when. All right, Google. Hold on. Google machine, come to the rescue here. Battlefront 2, PS2, 2005, dude. Okay, we're talking about a game from 2005 that you can buy for $8 on Steam and play with up to Google. You're failing me. Show me the Steam link. I don't know where it is, but you can play it with all of your friends from 2005, PlayStation 2, before the PlayStation 2 even had any sort of network integrity at the time, or not integrity, structure of the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, the fact that that's even possible with PC, like that's just like a small glimpse at some of the glorious things you can do with your
Yeah.
PC.
It's pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie. I probably shouldn't be on Steam because I've been buying so many older games that I haven't had a chance to play. Like Fallout New Vegas is in my library, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. A lot of these games that I haven't had a chance to play. I mean, if you want to play the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky series, you can play that. Old
Right,
school RPG games. I mean, they're all there. That's the cool thing about it, is that you have that backwards compatibility. You have that back catalog of games to play that you may never have gotten a chance to play. Should that be the sole reason you build a PC? Yeah, probably not, but it's there if you want it,
right.
you know. Um, but
To
it's like,
real quick, you actually said something, and I just want to
uh,
point it out. You talked about Fallout New Vegas.
uh-huh.
Someone created an entire uh like game within a mod attached to the Fallout New Vegas, for instance. So like I
What?
think that's another selling point too, is well, PS4 users and Xbox One users, well, we've got mods now. I mean, we pay for them because we're on consoles, but we have mods. And so it's like, well, yes, you do, but you don't. Like, people are now just finishing the you know what? I'm gonna blank on it, but um, it's it's like a high elf world, more or less, attached to the Skyrim world, and it's built on
Oh,
the
wow.
same engine. But I mean, we're talking a fully fledged fan made mod that's an actual game. I think the total was around 60 gigs
Oh my God.
of
It's
how
pretty
big it
ridiculous.
was. But like, PC has the ability to do those kinds of things. I mean, um, to give the Christian spin on this, I can play games like Witcher 3 with no nudity because I can mod it out.
What?
Right.
Out of here.
So,
You cannot. That's impossible.
no, totally can't. Right. So, that's also a massive, massive benefit. So, like, when Cyberpunk comes out, yeah, I'm someone, yeah, I'm not going to play it right away. I'm going to wait till I can mod certain things out that I know exist in the game that I may not have the option to get rid of through like cutscene choice and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, just things like that where it gives me the flexibility to enjoy things in ways that I could never have imagined doing on a console.
Yeah. It gives you that ability to customize according to your convictions, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's pretty wild. That is pretty wild, man. So PC gaming, dear listeners, get a words are heard in chat, please. So dear listeners, PC building. Hopefully, we've helped you out with some of these, addressing some of these questions, addressing some of the myths surrounding PC building. And if you have questions or a specific question that maybe we didn't get a chance to cover, as always, drop it in the Discord server. If you follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast, drop it over there, Facebook group, all the places as well. And we will be more than happy to discuss that with you. If you are looking to build a PC or getting into it yourself and you don't know what parts to pick and you have an idea of what you want to do with it, but you don't really know where to start, again, join our community, like the different community places that you can hang out, our Discord, Facebook. Twitter's probably not the best spot for it. I would defer you to go to either the Discord server where there's a specific channel designed for helping you build a PC, especially if you want to get into streaming gamings. If you want to stream video games, there's a channel for that too. So lots of stuff over there, lots of stuff in the Facebook group. Hit up both of those places and we can help you out there. Zach, man, is there any other final thoughts you want to share with the dear listeners before we switch over and give some recos?
Honestly, utilize resources, guys and gals.
Yeah.
I'm part of the TRG admin team over on Facebook. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys might have. Any questions that we didn't address here, concern, remarks. You want to call me a dummy head, sure, you can go ahead and do that. It won't hurt my feelings. So, just know that it's not only me, but like so many other people in our Facebook group and community, even on Twitter, over on Twitch. You mention Logan's build on Twitch. I guarantee you, people are gonna pop in and say, "Oh yeah, hey, I helped convince him of this part," and blah blah blah. And before you know it, you've got two PCs and you don't even understand how they were built before you could realize they were at your feet. So utilize resources.
Mm-hmm.
We're here.
Definitely. We're here for you. Be a deer. Come hang out with us here. One last, you said utilize resources. The other thing I'll also say, because I know Aaron's building a PC. I know there's some other people in the group building PCs. When you get your parts in, read the manuals if they come with them. I know that sounds boring and no one wants to read manuals, especially us guys that want to put things together based off just how we feel. But I'm dead serious, especially when you get your motherboard, read the manual because that's going to let you know where everything's laid out. It's going to let you know. What, are you laughing at me? Is this
No. I've got an amazing story for justifying reading your motherboard manual.
Awesome. I love it. So yeah, I'll just end it with that. It'll tell you where everything's laid out. If you run into issues like I did with my Ethernet port, it'll give you tips on how to fix that. Read through it. You don't got to like study it like for some kind of standardized test, but just look through it, get a feel for it, see where everything's laid out. You'll be okay. It's all right. Well, dear listeners, before we let you go, as episode 169 comes to a close, golly, it's been good to be back. Some recos. We're going to leave you with some things to check out this week here. Zach, what are some things that you would recommend to the dear listeners?
Real quick, check out Riot Games' lineup of games coming out. I mentioned TFT, which is that auto battler chess kind of thing. It's not really chess, but that's the only way I know how to describe it. Valorant that just launched on the 2nd of June, and obviously League of Legends. It's a MOBA. Hey, it's a niche thing. If you're not into it, don't worry about it. But they have an upcoming fighter game that they're going to be releasing, a competitive fighting game. They've got a single player RPG coming out. They have an action RPG coming out and rumored to have an MMO in the works. So check them out. I've always respected Riot Games a lot, how they handle things with the community. They're very open. I respect them a lot. And also, Path of Exile's new patch/expansion comes out in 14 days. So Me, another admin in the group are going to be playing that, and quite a few other people from TRG always hop in and play the latest expansion of Path of Exile whenever it pops up, and it's a free to play game too. So, and all of Riot games are free to play as well. So that's a huge appeal. That's my recommendation. Really cool games, awesome developers. Check them out.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Well, as far as my recos go, then it's all going to be stuff that is going to be in your show notes. We've talked about it already. I just want to reinforce it and reiterate it for those of you that are looking to build a PC. Check out the channels Linus Tech Tips on YouTube and BitWit. I mean, the links will be in the show notes for those two channels. I'll even include a link to some of the videos that I personally watch to help kind of get ready for building a PC. I mean, these guys know what they're talking about. These guys are smart, and they have a way of just presenting the information and showing you how to do it in a way that's just, it doesn't make you feel stupid. They walk you along with it.
And it's entertaining.
It is entertaining, especially that one where Linus put that video up where it like had metal and they were using fire and all that stuff recently.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh, what an awesome intro to a video. And the other thing I'm going to recommend too is that if you're currently in the process of buying PC parts, I'm going to include a link down there to the subreddit Build a PC Sales, so that we can kind of save some money on some parts and maybe use that money you saved and put it towards like other parts or whatever it is. Just want to help you out that way. So links to all that stuff will be in your show notes on your podcast app. So feel free to use those, utilize those, and let us know if you are building a PC. If you're building a PC or you've built a PC recently, post it in the Facebook group. If you're on Twitter, tag us in it. Let us see this stuff, man. Let us see what you're building and let us see how you're doing. And if you're playing games like Apex or don't play Fortnite. I don't like Fortnite. Overwatch, any of that stuff. Valorant, hit us up, whether you're on Discord, Facebook, wherever, and let's game together. I mean, that's part of the reason why we built the TRG was so we could we could build PCs with other
yeah, absolutely. But I've built actually over Skype with actual TRG members. So
we'll see. There you go. But yeah, dear listeners, hopefully this episode has been helpful to you. If it has, awesome. There's some ways that you can let us know. You can go over to patreon.com and pledge your support over there if you like what we do here on the show. And as always, that gets you perks like early uncut access to our show, so you get to listen to episodes like this and hear all of the fumbles. People on public feeds will not hear that. You get behind the scenes, all that other stuff, patreon.com. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheTheoLogan. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Fridays and Saturdays are 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Sunday nights are 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. or maybe 11, depends on what I'm playing that night. Go over to the website, thereformedgamers.com, for links to really everything, show notes, retrospectives, reviews, links to all of our social media stuff. All of that's on the website. But if you want a direct link to our Twitter or our Facebook, that's in the show notes down there. You can find us on twitter.com/TRG podcast or facebook.com/thereformedgamers. You can find the page there, which we just used to kind of post news articles, and then you can join the group as well and hang out with other dear listeners and get some awesome ideas for a build or to get good turnip prices for Animal Crossing. For those of us that are still playing it, like myself, even though I have a PC, I'm still addicted to Animal Crossing. Oh my goodness. I didn't even talk about that.
Dude, we needed to talk about that because I've missed the last few Sundays of tournament prices, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. I have two, but only by choice because I paid off all my debts, and now I'm like, I'm just gonna play it casually.
Dave Ramsey'd it. I get it.
I did. What's funny is, did you see? Are you on Twitter, Zach?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Did you see the tweet that we put out after I paid off all my final debts? For those of you that don't know, when I paid off my final housing debt in Animal Crossing, I took a screenshot of it, posted it to Twitter, tagged Dave Ramsey, and said, "Thank you, sir. I am now debt free." He didn't respond to it. I didn't expect him to, but it just makes me giggle and a little warm inside knowing that Dave Ramsey got a notification from TRG saying thank you, and I bet it put a smile on his face. And he's probably playing Animal Crossing right now as Tom Nook himself. I don't know. I can't confirm that, but I bet he's playing Animal Crossing. Anyway, dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And until next time, be a deer, Keep it locked here. We'll catch you later.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, the podcast all about theology and gaming. TRG is edited by Dear Ear Productions, so thank them for the buttery smooth tones in your ear. If you're looking for extra content, head on over to youtube.com/TheReformedGamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over on patreon.com/reformedgamers by our dear patrons. The following deer are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked at the end of each show, as long as their pledge comes through, or we forget to update the audio. Those people are David Matthews and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and supporting Logan in his never-ending quest to collect them all. Platinum trophies, that is. So be a deer and keep it locked here. Keep listening. We'll catch you later.
Zach, what's your story, man?
I almost burned down my office because I didn't read the manual, dude. Here I am, 13 years of experience building PCs. Mr. Just thick-headed, buff boy, bearded man walk into this PC ready to dominate its building, and then all of a sudden, I put it's kind of hard to describe, but like the grounding wire for the USB ports that go into the motherboard, kind of did that a little bit. I didn't put it on the grounding. I basically reversed the plus and minus charges.
Oh no.
And to my credit, it was my boss had bought a pretty chintzy motherboard, and it wasn't very clear on where the grounding pin was, but so this will not happen to you, dear listeners. This is a very specific enterprise level issue. It was in a server build. So, but yeah, I reversed them and I'm putting it together and I started the PC and I'm like, man, it smells like burnt rubber in here. I can't. I opened the window. I walked back to the PC and I'm like, man, it really does smell like burnt rubber. Is it me? Is it BO? Do I stink like burnt rubber? This is a revelation for me. When I sweat, I smell like rubber. And then all of a sudden, while I'm smelling my armpit, I see out of the corner of my eye smoke rising from the back of the server kit chassis that this PC is in. I rush, I'm trying to pull this, I'm freaking out. I'm trying to pull this stupid side door off, not realizing that it's still screwed on. So I'm trying to unscrew it at the same time. And of course, I'm brilliant and didn't shut it off at this point because I'm still freaking out trying to get this thing off. And I open it up and just this big thing of smoke hits me in my face. And I had literally burned through the entire wire leading up to the USB port in the front of the chassis.
Wow.
The entire wire was just like burning. So there you go. That's why you read your motherboard manual, folks.
Moral of the story: read the instruction manual. Golly.
To be fair, biggest mistake I've ever made. No other mistake I've ever made has resulted in any other thing not working in a computer. So if it's any consolation, it's still pretty safe.
That is pretty safe. Oh, dude, that's wild. That is wild.